Okay, let's dive in. It is May 29, 2025, and for today's deep dive, you've brought us a really interesting mix of sources.
Yeah, it's quite a combination. We've got an astrological reading specifically for today.
Right, and paired with that, this piece of fictional writing, a StoryScope narrative, which is, well, it's basically a story designed to kind of resonate with the day's energy.
Exactly. It's a unique setup.
It really is. So our mission, yours and mine and yours listening, is to see what happens when we look at these side by side.
Hmm.
Pull out the key takeaways.
See what they might reveal about, well, handling challenges, communicating when things get difficult.
Finding purpose, maybe.
Yeah.
Especially when you feel a bit, I don't know, adrift or overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. And what's really fascinating here is how something symbolic, like astrology, and a story written to echo it might, converge.
Yeah, it's not just about spotting overlaps, is it?
No, not at all. It's about understanding what that convergence actually tells us. What deeper insight emerges about tackling uncertainty, especially on a day like today.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start with that astrological reading for May 29th. It seems to lay out the underlying currents for the day.
Right. It highlights themes like nourishment, how we take care of ourselves,
Emotional intelligence, too, vulnerability, finding that sense of belonging.
and really leaning into things that, mentally stimulate us, get us engaged.
So the advice is kind of focus on what makes you feel genuinely looked after. Let your mind get absorbed in things that are interesting.
Yeah, and it adds this interesting layer too that sometimes using your energy wisely today might even mean tackling those tasks that have piled up.
Oh, even the boring ones?
Maybe especially the boring ones, sort of clearing the decks mentally, to free up bandwidth.
Okay, makes sense.
And importantly, it encourages embracing the whole range of feelings, acknowledging that vulnerability is, well, part of it all.
Right. Okay. Now, the reading also mentions something about the energy shifting, particularly towards the evening.
Yes, it describes the energy really ramping up. Mine's ablaze is the phrase used.
Ablaze. Wow. So a lot of thoughts, ideas, questions flying around.
Exactly. And this intense mental buzz, it says, could lead to some really lively discussions.
Or the flip side could be feeling kind of swamped by it all. Information overload,
Yeah.
maybe a bit restless, anxious even.
Precisely. And it's not just a random mental energy. The source points to a specific, significant astrological aspect today. Sun conjunct Mercury.
Okay, Sun conjunct Mercury. Break that down a bit.
Well, think of the sun as like our core self, our vitality, where we shine. And Mercury is all about thought, communication, how we process and share information.
Right.
So when they come together this closely in a conjunction, it's like throwing a spotlight and a turbocharger onto our thinking and how we talk about ideas.
Ah, okay. So that's where the ablaze comes from. Big ideas, maybe.
Right.
Rapid-fire conversations.
You got it. It can bring this real powerful energy for exactly that. Big ideas bubbling up.
And that feeling where you suddenly just need to say something. Voice your opinion. Maybe finally put words to something that's been, I don't know, bugging you.
Yes, exactly. And the reading suggests that today those ideas might feel really connected to your deeper sense of purpose.
Helping you use your time and energy wisely.
Mm-hmm. And a really key part of the Sun Mercury thing is the emphasis on working together, partnerships.
Ah, so collaboration is favored. More than trying to just figure it all out on your own.
Definitely. The energy leans that way.
Yeah.
Now, the reading does note there might be some, friction points in communication. That can happen with this intensity.
Sure.
But alongside that potential difficulty is this really strong urge, this need to speak what feels true, what feels necessary.
Okay.
And it's very specific about how it says it's not about shouting louder, it's about being unmistakably clear.
Unmistakably clear. Okay, I like that. That feels really specific and potent for today's vibe.
It does, doesn't it?
So that's the astrological picture then. A day kind of building towards this intense mental peak, driven by Sun conjunct Mercury, highlighting ideas, collaboration, purpose, and that need for clear communication, even when things feel challenging.
It's a great summary.
Okay, so now let's pivot. Let's look at the second source, this StoryScope narrative. It's called BATTLESTAR ODYSSEY, Voices in the Void. And it's also set today, May 29, 2025.
Right. And this one gives us, a fictional story lens on some potentially similar themes. We're dropped right into it, deep space.
Yeah, the setting is stark. Humanity's remnants after some big conflict, the Sealith War, drifting through the void. The fleet's described as a string of battered pearls.
Vivid imagery. Fragmented, worn down by fear, fatigue.
Yeah.
Just barely hanging together.
And we zoom into the command center, the CIC. on the ship Odyssey.
Yeah, the Earth Center.
And right away, the situation feels like it mirrors that feeling of overwhelm we just talked about. You've got leaders from 100 ships connected on this holo-grid.
Faces drawn, wary. You can feel the burden.
Then this encrypted burst connects them, and boom, it's exactly that rapid-fire conversation energy. Frustration is just spilling out. Arguments.
What are they arguing about?
Oh, resources, food distribution clashes, disagreements on defense strategy, grievances about the command structure, just general discord.
The story actually calls it chaos, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Bitter, aimless discord.
It does. And flying blind, arguing over scraps, pointing fingers, it sounds grim.
It really does. And you can imagine, right, when you're already facing this huge external threat, this void, having all that internal conflict on top, it's just draining.
Totally pulls you in different directions, adds to that feeling of being lost.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting and where you start to see echoes of that astrological energy. Commander Adira Hale, she's in the middle of all this chaos, and she senses something else starting to happen. Underneath all the arguing, ideas are actually starting to surface.
Oh, not just complaints.
No, like big ideas. New strategies for mapping star clusters, ways to mine resources from nebulae, even ideas about integrating lost colonies they might find.
Wow, okay, so a shift from just survival mode.
Exactly. The narrative says there's this shared craving starting to emerge to finally understand what had been gnawing at them. It's a shift towards purpose, towards finding a future.
Okay, that resonates immediately with the astrology, doesn't it? Ideas feeling aligned with purpose, finally understanding something bothersome.
Totally. It's like seeing that energy manifest right there in this high-stakes situation.
Yeah.
And Adira's response, it's also powerfully aligned. How does she cut through all that noise from 100 arguing leaders?
Oh.
Her voice is described as not loud, but unmistakably clear.
There it is again, that exact phrase.
Right. She doesn't shout. She speaks directly to their shared reality, reminding them why they're still out there.
Yeah.
Not just to count rations, she says, but to find a future worth living for.
Okay, so she's articulating that sense of shared purpose, that belonging the astrology hinted at. Powerful.
And her call to action nails the collaboration theme, too.
Oh.
From now on, we move together. No one flies solo.
No one flies solo. That directly mirrors the astrological point about partnerships versus flying alone. Amazing.
It really is. And she doesn't just tell them to stop arguing. She tells them what to do with those ideas that are bubbling up. She says, speak it. Clear. Direct. Not to win, but to build.
Ah, so it's about constructive communication, speaking truth clearly to actually move forward together, not just score points or add noise.
Precise.
And what happens in the story? Does it work?
Instantly. The narrative says the faces on the holo-grid, they shift. They soften. Arguments just stop.
Wow.
And then leaders start sharing actual concrete ideas, like someone suggests a way to extend sensor range by linking ships. Another proposes a prototype for dual-ship jump coordination.
So they move from fighting over scraps to actually building solutions together.
Exactly. The threat outside, the void, it's still there. But inside the CIC, the whole atmosphere changes. It stops humming with desperation and starts humming with alignment.
Alignment.
And the fleet, which was fragmented, starts to move forward again together.
Okay, so this is where the real insight from bringing these two sources together comes through, isn't it?
I think so. Looking at them side by side for May 29, 2025, it's kind of stunning.
It really is. You have this symbolic map of energies from the astrology and then this fictional story set on the same day, and they converge on this remarkable set of similar ideas about how to navigate really difficult times.
Yeah, but both seem to highlight how important the emergence of big ideas is.
And the power of communicating with that unmistakable clarity.
Plus the necessity of working together, collaborating.
And anchoring all of it in a shared sense of purpose. These seem to be the key things when you're facing challenges. Uncertainty, when you feel like you're in that void.
It's almost like the Battlestar Odyssey story is a vivid illustration of the blueprint the astrology laid out.
I think that's a great way to put it. The rapid-fire mental energy becomes those leaders sharing big ideas.
The craving to understand what's been bothering you becomes that search for purpose in the story.
The advice to work together instead of flying solo is literally echoed in Adira's command. No one flies solo.
And that emphasis on speaking truth clearly becomes her instruction to speak it, clear, direct, not to win, but to build. It lines up so well.
Yeah, and so both sources, in their very different ways, seem to offer this perspective that when you're faced with that feeling of chaos or being overwhelmed, the path through isn't necessarily about pushing harder by yourself or just shouting louder than everyone else.
Right. It's more about
Hmm.
what giving voice to the ideas that are actually trying to emerge.
Yes, and aligning with others around a common goal and communicating with real clarity and intention.
So thinking about the listener now,
Hmm.
what does this surprising convergence actually mean for you when you're facing your own challenges or moments of feeling lost?
Well, I think the alignment we found today leaves us with a pretty potent takeaway, actually. It suggests that navigating your own voids, whether that's feeling swamped by information, dealing with tricky group dynamics, or just feeling fragmented and unsure where to go,
Yeah.
it might really hinge on harnessing the power of the ideas that are stirring, communicating with that unmistakable clarity we saw highlighted,
Mm-hmm.
and remembering or maybe even actively building a shared purpose with the people around you.
It's so easy to get caught up in the arguments, isn't it? Or feel like you just have to muscle through tough times all alone.
Absolutely. But both these sources today, the astrology and the story, they point towards this immense power that can be found when you articulate those emerging ideas clearly.
And deliberately move towards a shared goal together.
So maybe here's something to ponder. In your own moments of feeling overwhelmed or lost in the void, how might focusing on identifying and articulating the ideas that are emerging, communicating them with unmistakable clarity towards a shared purpose, how might that help you find alignment and chart a path forward?